Welcome to Decades of Horror in the 1970s.
I think I should warn you that the police are watching our house right this very minute, Mr. Hallett.
This is episode 145, recorded August 2nd, 2021. Where is the music? Here it is.
Gruesome Magazine.
I am your host, Dr. Rodden, and this podcast is about horror films released between 1970 and 1979. Each episode, my co-host Jeff Mohr and I will tackle another classic, or not so classic, film from this wondrous, groovy, gory, and influential decade. Tonight, we are reviewing The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane from 1976. And joining me is my co-host, Jeff Mohr. Jeff, sir, how are you doing?
I'm excellent. And in fact, I just want to compliment Chad. That sounded exactly like a 13-year-old girl.
Yikes.
Just the beginning of the creepiness for this podcast.
The beard kind of took away from the effect.
Anyway. He embodied both Jodie Foster and Martin Sheen at the same time. It was amazing. All right, also joining us is Bill Mulligan, writer, director, special effects guru, and all around nice guy and cat handler.
Yeah, cat wrangler. Very unsuccessful there.
Although you forgot to put the coat on the cat.
Oh dear. Yes, he's naked. Oh, let's cover him up. I'm waiting for him to start.
Too late,
I'm waiting for him to get his own.
Too late.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Izzy shows up so many times on these podcasts. He should be getting his own email. He won't answer them though. I'm doing fine. Just summer's coming to an end. As it does.
No, that's right. Summer's coming to an end. You've got to go back to work.
Right, and school opens in 3 weeks, and they are right now arguing about what that's going to look like. So, as often, we're right on top of things.
Yes, right on top. They'll make a decision the day before.
I'm sure there'll be a plan that will hold steady for days.
Days. Hours even. Hours. All right. Also joining us tonight is Shad Hunt. He's comic book artist, co-host, Decades of Horror, the Classic Era. He's also a producer, a director, and he's my fellow sushi eater.
Absolutely. Dragon roll for life. Or what was it? Godzilla roll.
Godzilla roll. Yes, we found a place where they had a Godzilla roll. Do you know how happy we were when we walked in there?
Yes.
And on the menu is a Godzilla roll.
We both looked up at each other at the same time, and our mouths dropped.
Yes.
Oh, I'd be happy for you if I wasn't so envious.
Yes, and you know what we had to order? The Godzilla roll. All right, but enough about that. Let's talk about A Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. Let's pull up the card that Jeff makes because Jeff does such a wonderful job.
The card's parked out in the yard.
Yeah, he does a better. He does a better job. Matter of fact, the way he does this, it doesn't look like Canada. It does look like it's out there. Yeah. Never mind. All right, Little Girl Lives Down the Lane, directed by Nicolas Gessner, written by Laird Koenig, who also did the novel. Yes, 2 years before this. The cast includes, and is not limited to, Jodie Foster, Martin Sheen, Alexis Smith, Mort Schumann, and Scott Jacoby. Released May of 1976 in Cannes, and then made it to the States in August of 1977. The budget was a little over $1 million, and the box brought back that $1 million, roughly. So interesting. Synopsis is a 13-year-old Rynn Jacobs lives alone in a high-class Quebec small town. But unknown to the neighbors, she's leading a secret and dangerous life. So I'm eager to hear what you guys think. What we're going to do is share the first time you saw this, what your first impression was. And if you saw it way back when and saw it now, does it hold up, right? And then we'll talk about it here in just a minute. So who's going to be first? Who chose this one?
I think it was me.
I think it was you, Bill.
It was Bill.
You're first. What was when did you first see this movie, and what was your impression of it?
I first saw it on television. I don't know when, but it would have been, I guess, a few years after it was released. Obviously, not a few years before. I don't feel like it was that.
Thank you.
Just logic. I don't feel like it was that long. If it came out in '77, I know where I saw it. I saw it at home, so maybe summer break from college. So I'm guessing in the early '80s or so. I'm pretty sure that's where I saw it on late night TV. Not very heavily edited. All the really disturbing stuff was certainly still left in. And it left an impression on me because then, as now, I thought Jodie Foster was a phenomenal actress, and Martin Sheen can do creepy as few can. And I really liked the ending. I really dug that understated ending that was powerful. So, but that was literally the first and last time I saw it until I watched it again a few days ago. So watching it now, the creepy factor seems elevated by a factor of 10.
It does.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that the nude scene was cut out of the version I saw because this would have been network TV late night.
Oh yeah,
and that was unnecessary.
And I would imagine that entire bedroom scene was cut out.
Probably.
Because that was controversial at the time.
Yeah, I think some of it was left in because I remember even then thinking, and we didn't have VCRs back then. They did say she was 13, right? And I'm like, okay, so she's 13, and this kid seems to be older than that, and I don't know if this is totally kosher here. But at the time, it didn't seem quite as disturbing. Now, both that and the nude scene in particular seemed like a real off note for a film where we're supposed to be, as we should, grossed out by the fact that this pedophile is walking around with impunity in this town. I didn't realize it was set in Quebec. I just assumed it was Maine or something. One of those weird little Maine towns that Stephen King would write about, where everybody knows that someone's a pedophile, but they don't do anything about it because his parents have a lot of money, and it's just you move into town and they're like, man, you got an apple tree in the backyard, and watch out for Sam, he's a pedophile, and moving over here. You're like, whoa, time out. What was that? And it's like, oh, yeah, we don't do anything about it. Just tell everyone as they come in, it's in the brochure. Like,
it's in the brochure.
But yeah, everyone who talks to her, like, oh, was he in your house? It's like nothing happened, right? Well, yeah. Why you ask? Oh, no reason.
Even the mother when she comes by.
But within 2 seconds of meeting Martin Sheen, not the real person, the guy he plays, you would know this guy is off. Watching him now, I feel like this is the younger version of the character he played in The Dead Zone. Like, this is where that guy came from. He somehow survived Jodie Foster and went to go do everything else. Because boy, can he do that slimy, friendly on the outside, but you don't have to dig deep to find the evil on the inside character. He's great at it. And Jodie Foster is absolutely terrific. She was legit 13 years old when she did this, and she has a presence and a confidence as an actress that most will never achieve, no matter how long they live. She's got star quality written all over her, and she's in virtually every scene, carries the movie. Brilliant portrayal. So although there's elements of this film that I'm still a little skeeved out about now, and I don't think that the film itself is brilliantly put together, I think it's worth watching definitely for her performance and Sheen's. Good and evil, and two top-notch people playing their roles.
Yeah, and a lot of gray for the good part of that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But definitely, yeah.
there's more good in her than there would have been if they'd followed the book. So because at least one death is accidental, clearly accidental in this film, and was 100% not accidental in the book. Mm-hmm. And they deliberately took that out to keep her sympathetic. There's no death in this film that she's responsible for, that she's really guilty of anything, other than the very last one. And I, for one, would not convict her on that one. If I were on that jury, I'd be like, here's a slap on your wrist, dear. Now, don't you ever do that to Martin Sheen again. And off you go.
Yeah, it tastes just like self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Chad Hunter, you're up next. When did you first see The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane? And
Well,
what do you think of it now?
The first time I heard this movie, my mom and her sisters, they all used to get together and go watch scary movies, and then they would come home and sit around the table in the kitchen and talk about it. It's scary. So I'm over in the corner, peeking around the corner, listening to all these scary movies. And they went to see this one. And at one point, I jumped out and said, "Ah, cool!" And you're never to see this movie. Don't you ever watch this movie? You should growing up to be an old man and never have seen this movie. So now I'm an old man, and I just watched it yesterday for the first time.
Oh my gosh, really?
The curse came true.
Yeah, the curse came true. But it'll give me a reason to call my mom. But so I've heard of it then. So and I kind of, I was told not to ever watch it. And I was aware of it. I'm aware.
Don't ever watch it.
I was aware of it when it would come on TV. But see, that Jedi mind trick was working. I just never found it interesting after that. So watched it yesterday for the first time. So I'm seeing it for the first time in through modern eyes, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is creepy, and it's disturbing, and I don't recall ever seeing movies that covered this kind of material so boom, boom, boom in your face. A lot of times it was implied, but this was like the pedophilia and that kind of thing. I don't recall it being so overt as this movie, but then again, I would probably, I was a monster kid. I was into the monsters. It would take a lot for me to watch a movie like this anyway to get me to watch it. But other than the creep factor, it is well acted, very well acted, I think. Even by her little friend Mario, he did a great job. Played off of her back, sort of. That was a great exchange of dialogue in those scenes with those kids, and for Jodie Foster to be only 13, that was one of the best acting jobs I think I've ever seen from a child actor who could pull off that maturity and still be so scary. Like Bill brought up, that ending was just holy mother, what an ending. And I did love the ending. So, but yeah, it's I really enjoyed it, even though it just had me going, no, that it's creepy. It truly is creepy.
Well, she did. We'll get to you, Jeff, here in a second. But just to touch on Jodie Foster, she did 5 films this year, and this was the 5th film that she did throughout the year. That was filmed in 75, November of 75. But the other films she did range from Bugsy Malone. I don't know if you remember that one.
Oh yeah,
the kids one, right?
The kids musical. To Taxi Driver. So what a year for her, right? All right, Jeff. Yeah. I gotta know. Did you see this back in the 70s, or was this past week the first time you ever?
This is the first time I saw it, and I will admit to having a problem. I don't know. I had a hang up with stuff about evil kids. I didn't watch Bad Seed until for a long time. I was pretty old the first time I saw that. So the little girl who lives down the lane, that just did not pull me in. I don't know. Anyway, so I watched it yesterday, and I'm a little irritated at myself for not seeing it sooner. It's got a lot of good stuff. There's really only 5 people in this, right?
Yeah.
Basically. I mean, you've got a couple other, one-liner people that at the library and stuff like that.
Oh, that's right. The librarian. But anyway,
it could be a stage play, easy.
It was originally conceived.
It was originally written that way, yeah. So, but they all did a great job, and I the only flaw that I see in it, and I think I'm a little bit with Bill and Jodie Foster, is the nude scene was totally unnecessary. Yeah. And apparently a couple of the actors, Jodie Foster and Scott Jacoby, who played Mario the magician, both said the producers were irrational and about a couple of things like that. So, and in fact, they had her older sister do her nude scene. But anyway,
she totally doesn't look like a 13-year-old.
No,
it just is, and it's totally unnecessary. We see movies now where I'm, you know, if there's some, it's a hard thing to decide, I guess. But in that particular case, I wouldn't have bothered me at all. You know, they could have easily had pretty much the same scene and not had her nude. Anyway. No, I thought she was great. And that last scene, that final scene where she holds that fixated stare for like 3 minutes is, try doing that.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
That should have been her first Oscar.
Well, you know, and it's cool how they laid it out, because she describes pretty much doing the same thing to her mother, to Mario, right? So we see it coming. And so as it's happening, you're getting really tense because the stakes are a lot higher this time. I mean, her mother would have been a big pain in the ass, but this guy. So, dealing with pedophilia, possibly rape, also matricide. And it's interesting to me, like I think Bill pointed out too, the Martin Sheen's mother, his character's name was Frank. So his mother, played by Alexis Smith, is killed by Rynn in the book. She's murdered. And this one, they changed it to make it be accidental. And just to cover up. So that's an interesting change. Like, for some reason, that was a line too far. They didn't want her to look that bad, I guess, where I guess the other ones seemed justified. I don't know. But she's awesome. Sheen is incredible. Alexis Smith is incredible. The cop, Mort Schumann, I'm sure I've seen him before, but I thought he was really good as a local small town cop that knew everybody, but couldn't really do anything about the rich people, but was trying to do what he could, you know, to keep an eye on her. And then of course, Scott Jacoby as this magician. And I never got how old he was. There's a piece of trivia that talks about him being 19, and I don't know if they're talking about the actor, but I pictured him as being like 16 or 17, you know, because I felt like he was still going to school. I think he says something to her once about, how come I'm not seeing you in school, or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and I guess you wouldn't have to have a driver's license to drive that Bentley down there illegally to cover up a murder. So what the
you
hell?
can drive a car illegally at the age, really.
Really.
Anyway, I'm rambling, but I really, really like this, and it's kind of a typical 70s thing where there's these cutting topics, you know, that are, it skirts around. Well, no, it's pretty blatant about the pedophilia. I mean, Martin Sheen is a skis.
I mean, they openly say he dragged a girl into the bushes. Like, listen, even when I was a kid, I knew that was code for bad stuff.
Well, she also is amazing to me. If I was in that situation, even now, probably not now, but at 13 years old. So this character is, as is described throughout, is far advanced in her years and her maturity. The way that she can distract and deal with this guy and not put up with it. Anyway,
but of course that also works against her, I think, because you know, this guy, this must be like his dream. a little girl who seems to have maturity beyond her years, and
She
that
can't
gives him
rat
this-
on him.
Yeah, and plausible deniability. I mean, it's just so creepy, and yet she was the perfect person for this role, and I can't imagine who else could play her at the time, especially. I can't imagine, because she is so intelligent, and Jodie Foster is extremely intelligent. I'm sure always has been, and poised and everything, and yet she looks 13. She looks 12, quite frankly. She's got a really young face in this role. Watching this, it's like, that looks like Jodie Foster when she's 10. I mean, she could have played even younger than she was here. So just absolutely perfect for this role.
Yeah, I think they said she turned 13 during the filming. Sorry, Doc.
Yeah, so I'm so glad you chose this film. I watched it. I think it was a movie of the week when I watched it.
That sounds right.
Because they did that back in the 70s. They, we didn't have HBO yet, and they would put movies on, and you'd watch movie of the week. And I remember watching this, and this movie made a huge impression on me. For one thing, this is probably the first film I saw with Jodie Foster in it, that I knew it was Jodie Foster, and I would, recognize her from this movie on. Also, the whole almond thing has stuck with me, and it's been in my lexicon ever since then. Like anytime I give somebody, a drink and I go, if it tastes like almonds, that has been in my. This movie really got to me, and this is the kind of movie that.
Guys, are you taking note about the almond thing?
No,
because we're at a con somewhere.
It was the cookies. It's the almond cookies. But the thing is that this movie isn't doesn't have monsters, doesn't have a lot of action. It's a lot of talking. But I remember at a young age being riveted, just glued to the screen when you wouldn't think that this would be a kind of a film that would that I would watch at probably the same age, probably 13, right? But yeah, so somehow I must have like related to it, the character being, up against these odds or something. I'm not really sure how all that happened, but anyway, I just remember watching, and I've never seen it since. I've never watched it since.
Doesn't get shown a lot.
It doesn't.
But I think you're right. If I saw this when I was 13, I think I would have fallen in love with this film, because when you think about it, it's a weird thing to say, but it's a great film for 13-year-olds because it shows children as being intelligent and capable of outsmarting adults who are either dangerous or ineffectual. That if you're going to save yourself, you've got to do it yourself and everything. It's like
Home Alone but with real murder.
Yeah, where the killers aren't funny, and
because I didn't see Bugsy Malone or Taxi Driver until much later. Freaky Friday, I do remember seeing, but that was probably later. I remember seeing Foxes before seeing that. You guys remember Foxes?
I remember
Yes.
Foxes.
Yeah.
Bugsy Malone is one of my favorites.
I caught that on HBO, and Bugsy Malone
it's one of my all-time favorites, where they murder each other with cream pies instead of Tommy guns.
Everybody sings like Paul Williams. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing. I guess the point is that this movie made a huge impression on me at a young age, and watching it again this week, this movie is crafted so well. It is paced really well. It's acted tremendously well. When she goes down in that basement and then comes, the what's the lady's name? I guess Mrs. Harrod, right? And she comes running back up, and it's shocking. That scene is shocking, and Jodie Foster's reaction to it, where she backs up against the wall and just sits there, is and they kind of they fixate on that woman's face down into but the last scene where she outsmarts Martin Sheen with the teacups is
the old switcheroo.
It's classic. I mean, it's cliche now, but it's classic then, right?
Yeah, watching it this time, something occurred to me that did not occur to me the first time, only time I saw it. does she know that he's going to make her switch, or is she planning on killing herself rather than submit to this guy?
I felt like she was that smart enough.
She outsmarted him. Yeah,
she outsmarted him, because I guess if she were going to do that, she could have poisoned both of them. But yeah, she knew enough about him. I mean, she really is. If you're going to criticize the movie, she's almost unrealistically intelligent and mature. But she was raised by one of these crazy people who sometimes would do things like that. This kind of reminded me, the father, who we never see, of course, kind of reminded me of the character from a recent movie, Captain Fantastic, where this guy is raising his kids in the woods, and they're all brilliant. The 5-year-olds on a college level and all, but they're socially inept. And the movie kind of plays with whether this is a good thing or a bad thing, and all. It's like, this is a terrible way to raise your kid. Yeah, they'll get straight A's if they ever go to high school, and they have no idea how to survive in a horrible world out there. But yeah, parenting. There's not a lot of good parent role models in this film.
Not at all. Not at all. But they do go out of their way to back up the notion that she is this intelligent. I mean, because we catch her, learning Italian.
No, she was learning Hebrew, right?
Hebrew. That's right. She was learning Hebrew on a record, and what we would do. What are those online courses you can take now? Basically.
Yeah.
Rosetta Stone.
Rosetta Stone, right? She's doing the LP version of that.
Yeah.
So and so it's very obvious that she is smarter than your average bear, if you will. And so I never questioned it, never at all.
Yeah.
Never, not 1 second.
Well, one of the big things that kept coming up was my dad said survive.
Yeah.
He said survive. So she was doing everything she could do, learning new languages, and sort of educating herself how to do that. So it was sort of building you up to that. I thought by the end, she knew exactly what this guy's all about and what he would do. I think I'd like to think that's the ending of it.
Yeah. And they had the house for 3 years, so the father had plotted out 3 years with her. To survive, to get her, I guess, to be 16 or maybe 15.
16, and then she could be legit on her own. And I guess it is true. It wouldn't take a whole lot to outsmart Martin Sheen's character, because he doesn't seem particularly intelligent. He's evil and malevolent, but he's not very ingenious about it. He's openly awful, and it just depends on, I guess, his mom having a lot of money to get him out of trouble. Even she's freaked out by him. But
he's just manipulative and a bully.
Well, not to mention, I mean, his mother is. He's obviously sociopathic, but she's pretty much all about herself too, and she makes the snide anti-Semitic remarks to Rynn, and lies to her about the school board and that kind of stuff. And apparently Rynn's learned from her dad, don't trust adults. Because she goes to verify.
Oh, and that woman was like a Karen ahead of her time. I mean, boy, she's just perfect. She fits totally into the vibe of today.
Yeah, the prototype.
Ahead of her time. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I hate that Karen has become such a bad word, because that's my sister's name, and my sister's one of the finest people who ever walked the earth.
Oh,
but,
she must love that.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so this, like we said, this is a very early role for Jodie Foster. I was looking at it. Go ahead.
She did a ton of TV stuff before this. I was amazed at how many TV shows she did, even in the 60s, when she was...
I recognized her from The Courtship of Eddie's Father. She was in a great episode. I love that show. It's one of my guilty pleasures when I was a kid, and she had an awesome role in that.
She was in 5 episodes, Joey Kelly.
Oh, okay. So
7 or 8.
Okay, cool.
Yep.
My 3 Sons, she did a few episodes of that too. So
she had the tomboy thing locked up.
She did, and she did play... the first time I remember seeing her is in the Tom Sawyer version that starred what was that kid's name? Jodie Whittaker from Family.
Oh yeah.
And she played Becky Thatcher.
Oh, okay. Perfect. Yeah, that'd be good for her.
And she did the television. She did the Tatum O'Neal part in the television version of Paper Moon.
Oh, okay. That was a TV series. Wow.
Yeah.
It didn't last long.
No, it did not.
13 episodes.
But she had a ton of experience for being 13 years old. Holy cow, she had a lot of experience.
I question some of the roles that are, her parents / managers picked out for her. I mean, boy, Taxi Driver, that's rough.
Well, and she did
I would not turn down the opportunity to work with Martin Scorsese, but that role made this one seem like Becky.
And I think they said her sister did a nude scene in that one too, a body double for her in that one. Okay. But she was nominated for an Academy Award for that, for supporting actress.
For Taxi Driver?
Yeah.
Good. She was excellent in it.
And it's interesting.
I was just going to say it's unfortunate she's also known that real creepers got fixated on her with the whole the guy who tried to assassinate Reagan was trying to invest.
Well,
so that's, I guess, a danger with these roles is that there are people out there who just are insane. And
then she does win an Oscar for The Accused, which is that rape scene in the bar where people stood around and cheered.
She's a brave actress. I mean, she takes on roles that are awful and uncomfortable, and plays them well, and is actually a very accomplished director as well. Mm-hmm. She's had an amazing career in Hollywood.
She's won some Emmys for directing, I think.
Mm-hmm. Did she win for Silence of the
Lambs? Yes.
Okay, she won for that as well.
Should have. That was fantastic performance.
Of course, I think most people think of her as Maurice, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and then she was nominated for Nell as well, which is
did not like Nell. Yeah, I can't watch Nell's, but I mean she was great in it. I just thought the whole thing was. But yeah, I mean, listen, if you can be in Silence of the Lambs opposite Anthony Hopkins, devouring the scenery and hold your own. Mm-hmm. Most actresses in that role, we would have been rooting for Dr. Lecter because he was so cool, and yet she was able to make being a decent person just as compelling. So you're rooting for her. That movie was really just about perfect when you think about it.
It really is. It really is. I mean, she doesn't do a whole lot of genre stuff. I did like her in Hotel Artemis. It came out a few years back.
Yeah, she was good in that.
A very strange role for her, a little more wiry and, eclectic than her more serious. Because you think of her as a serious actor, one of those.
Right.
And of course, she does a lot of, directing now, right? So.
Yep.
And then there's Martin Sheen. He's gone on to some good stuff too.
Yeah, and he's thrown a couple Offspring at us as well. So.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember because I knew who he was back then. Why did I know who he was back in 76 or 77 whenever I saw this on TV?
Mm-hmm.
What year did Apocalypse come out? It was after this, right?
Well...
Oh, Apocalypse Now. Yeah, I remember that.
Was it Badlands? When was Badlands?
I don't know. I remember Final Countdown and all that, but that was after. But I already knew who he was when I saw this movie. But it had to be all the TV shows or something. Yeah, Badlands came out in 73.
Okay. There was another one. Oh, The Execution of Private Slovak. That was a TV movie.
God, yeah.
That was really good.
That was good, and that was one I saw. Yeah. I mean, this movie itself kind of has and I believe maybe it was originally going to be a TV movie. Is that true? Or
it has that.
First it was a play, and then
take the nude scene out, and this could have been any movie of the week kind of thing. It's. I don't recall there being any real bad language or.
There's an F. There's one F.
Is there?
Yeah.
Well, that could have been clipped out though.
Yep.
I mean, this would have made. And you say, well, they wouldn't show stuff like that on TV. They actually had a lot of cutting edge stuff back in the 70s on TV movies. TV movies would go after, there was rape and all, racism and all kinds of stuff. They would do it in a TV version way, not in a graphic movie kind of thing. But they weren't afraid to attack things like this. They were, and they kept doing that even in the 80s. In the 80s too, a very special episode of Different Strokes, and like, okay, it's not funny anymore. Now we're talking about child molesters. So yeah, I could easily see something like this being a TV movie.
It has the look of a TV movie in some shots.
Yeah,
and almost there's some breaks in there like made for commercials. Almost it felt like anyway.
There was a couple structures like that one.
Yeah.
Now
the opening credits kind of seemed TV like to me, but the end I didn't get that. Maybe because I was watching her face so closely, it was so captivating.
Yeah. And genre work, he Dead Zone, Firestarter, right?
Mm-hmm.
Final Countdown, I guess you would count that maybe, right?
He was an Uncle Ben. He was one of the Uncle Ben.
Uncle Ben.
What's Uncle
Spider-Man?
Ben?
Spider-Man.
Oh my God.
Oh my
Amazing
gosh.
Spider-Man.
Wow.
What? Is he really?
Not Raimi's trilogy, but the other two.
Yeah.
I guess
It's hard.
and of course, non-genre, but The West Wing.
Yeah.
Elevated him forever, probably. Do we talk about his offspring at all? Do we want to bring them people up?
What are you gonna do? What can you do?
Well, Charlie Sheen, right? Charlie Sheen, and Emilio Estevez.
Well, his brother too.
Joe Estevez.
Right. Is Joe Estevez the one who's in like Werewolf and some?
Yeah.
That's fun. That's fun. But boy, he's just been in so much stuff and just a great voice. Yes. One thing that kind of took me out of this movie sometimes, the soundtrack.
Yeah.
Occasionally, it kind of had that, like, okay, is this Superfly TNT kind of thing? Yeah, okay.
Starsky and Hutch music, yeah.
Right. It seems like this should have had more strings and just a more traditional creepy movie kind of vibe. And then I don't care what you do. This is not an action flick. Right. So yeah, that kind of took me out a little. And that also had a TV movie vibe to it.
Yeah. I was reading too that, and another, since you brought up creepy, Martin Sheen wanted the role of Mario.
Oh my God!
But
really?
and then they said, no, you're too old for that.
Yeah.
But then they give him the pervert role. He's still too old for but he requested the Mario.
Yeah, that wasn't going to happen.
No.
Yikes.
That would have been really, really awkward.
Awful.
Oh Christ! He was 35 years old already.
Yeah.
I'm just saying the internet told me that. So
I saw that.
I hope that's not true. That seems unwise.
It seems unwise. All right. Jeff, Alexis Smith, are you familiar with this actress?
Well, I was just looking at her stuff, and she won or was nominated for a Primetime Emmy for a role on Cheers in 1990, which, I suppose wow, and she would have been 72. It was on an episode called Sammy and the Professor.
Oh, it was a guest star, right? A guest star role.
I'm assuming she was the professor. I don't know.
Nah.
But I didn't know that much about her. When I look at her in IMDb, she looks very familiar.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm scrolling way back, and I'm sure, she did a bunch of Westerns, and I'm guessing that if almost everybody during the 40s and 50s did some film noir as well. Just looking at some. Oh yeah, the two Mrs. Carrolls. Yeah, so she was at some San Antonio.
Looks like a lot of westerns.
A lot of westerns.
Western spot. They kept a lot of people employed, didn't they, in the 50s and 60s? All right, so let's jump on down to Scott Jacoby, Bad Ronald, right? Do I have the right one?
Oh wow, Bad Ronald.
Didn't he Bad Ronald?
God, I remember.
Okay, wait a minute.
Yes, he was. The TV movie, right?
Right.
That one creeped me out too. I was like checking the walls. For those who don't know, Bad Ronald is a TV movie where these people are in a house and they're unaware that the aforementioned Bad Ronald is like living in the attic and between the walls, under the floors, and
that's him.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and he was in the Supernaturals. I don't know if you guys remember that movie back in '86, and Return to Horror High. There's a good one for you.
Remember that one? I do remember the Supernaturals.
I remember the cover for Return to Horror High. It's like a cheerleader with a skeleton face.
Yes. But he's a musician, or not a musician, but a producer now, right? Do I have that right?
I think you are correct.
They don't say a whole lot, but I do believe that he's a producer now. And so we'll transition to that awkwardly from that to Mort Schumann, because Mort Schumann also has a musical history.
Yeah, I was impressed with the stuff he had.
Yes. He's
part
of a writing, right? Yeah.
Yeah, he's part of they wrote some famous songs, didn't they? I don't remember what the name were. Little Sister, This Magic Moment, Save the Last Dance for Me. And Marie's the name of his latest flame.
I think there was Elvis, Viva Las Vegas. Yeah.
Viva Las Vegas. Yes.
This is one of those guys who'd be great on the Gilbert Gottfried podcast, but he died a long time ago, 1991. Wow. I mean, those are good songs. They're oldies, but they have a great melody. They're catchy. You hear them for the first time, and you know that's going to be a hit.
And you
I
would
like
have
that
never
style.
known that guy wrote that.
No,
right.
And he was quite natural. And back to Scott Jacoby for a minute. He does a pretty good job in what could have been a difficult role. He's an oddball, and you can see where someone like Jodie Foster's character could fall for a guy like this, because he's not like everybody else. And he's odd enough that he could accept her strangeness. These are, two kids who are apart from everyone else for different reasons. So the love story actually works pretty well. Yeah, it's kind of weird and awkward and a little creepy, just because that's the way it's written. But the performers themselves make the characters believable and likable. So I thought he did a good job, and we immediately like him because he's got a limp. And he's a magician, so he clearly is not the most popular guy in school. Take it from me. That is not the road to popularity some of us thought it would be.
It seemed like it would be. It seemed like
no,
the dream.
It really does. It really does. You'd be amazed how many people don't want to pick a card. Mostly women. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You know what?
All right, let's talk about Gordon the hamster, because
oh my God.
This was actually a little disturbing. I don't know why.
It is.
Trigger warning.
Awful.
Trigger warning. I guess it wasn't back in the day. But yeah, the hamster gets killed on camera, but the hamster's already dead. It was
that's the story.
That's the story, and they're sticking to it. But it was basically a
torture. There was a tortured animal.
Well, that's what they.
Yes.
The
true story is not much better than the fictional one.
No.
I was thinking of the Cheech and Chong. You must sign the papers. You stuck your finger into my eye. So anyway, you don't know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about. I'm just having a hard time.
Come back over here, Jeff. Come back over here.
So anyway, Well, even their explanation that it was already dead. It was used for an experiment. That's a trigger for some people. I'm like, it wasn't that.
Okay then.
If it'll make you feel better to believe that.
Well, I mean, they say it's used for research purposes, but yeah, it's
what research was this? It's like, well, I guess that kills them too. Hammer, check mark. It's just yeah. But boy, listen, as soon as you see him dancing in his wheel, you're thinking, oh, boy, you're not getting to the end of this movie. And then Martin Sheen shows up and takes him out of the cage. You're just like, might as well have a red shirt on. This hamster is not long for this world. But boy, did they rub our face into it with the cigarette and then throwing him in the fire. Like, this is. It's like were the producers not confident? I don't know if we made the Martin Sheen character hateful enough. What can we do? I mean, yeah, he's a creepy child molester, but maybe people would say, yeah, she had it come. So what can we do? It's like kill the hamster. It's like,
bring in the hamster. Yeah.
Bring in the hamster. Kick a cat. Shoot a dog.
I have to admit, I did not remember the hamster at all.
No, I had.
That might have been cut from TV.
You know what?
You're right. You're right.
Because I would have cut it. Yeah. I'll bet you're absolutely right. I wonder what happened to the hamster. I was probably wondering watching it the first time because he's not in the wheel anymore.
Not in the cage. He got out. He's free.
Yeah, that's right. I guess he's happy. He's free.
Yes.
I love the way they kind of doled out the information because they make the comment about how she hadn't seen her mother. I don't know, mother left when she was 3 or something. But then later on, it was like, how long has she been down there? Well, since October 17th. And I'm like, now, wait a minute. The old lady Hallett just went down there. So who are they talking about? It took me a minute to figure out they were talking about her mom coming back. They kind of, they piqued my interest. Let's put it that way. And then gradually released that information.
And once again, what a garbage person her dad is to I don't have much left, but just want to give you a word of advice. If your mom ever shows up, put this sedative into her drink. And you are setting up your child to commit a murder. I guess maybe manslaughter or something since she didn't know what she was doing. But
just like my dear old dad.
You're thinking about the repercussions of what this might be like. Wow. Took an ugly turn. Yeah. Thanks, Dad. This girl wasn't, like she already didn't have enough strikes against her. It's like, here's a load of guilt you're going to be carrying with you for the rest of your life.
Well, there was lots of little things there about how smart she was. So like she figured out what it was on her own, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then
looked it up.
Based on the smell and the way he died. Yeah. And what was he? At the library. She was at the library. But then when she goes to the bank, she asked for this piece of paper with her signature on it back and tears it up. I just thought that was an interesting covering her steps, so to speak. I
was impressed with how little money she took out. I mean, she's counting out ones. I'm like, man, things were cheaper back in the 70s.
Yeah, I saw that hamburger and a great big shake, and she left $2. I'm like,
wow. Those were the days.
Yep. So what do you, let's pretend a little bit. We haven't done this. The movie kind of is ambiguous at the end. I mean, we know what happens to Martin Sheen or Frank Hallett, but Rynn Jacobs and Mario Podesta, do they go off and do they live happily ever after, or does she get caught?
Hopefully he gets better. It sounds like he was on the mend. What does she do with the body now? I mean,
well, the interesting thing though is
stacking up.
None of these are not anybody that anybody's going to look for.
Mm.
In this little town, if it was in a bigger town, that would. I mean, they didn't seem all that concerned about his mother. I'm like,
did they? They were like, oh, she's missing. She ran off.
She never came around. Look, there's the glasses. Oh, okay.
Oh, darn. And I mean,
they probably figured he killed her.
Oh yeah, that would be perfect. That he killed his mom and then went off to wherever
and then he disappears.
There's not going to be a hard search for him at all.
No, not at all. So do Rynn Jacobs and Mario Podesta live happily ever after together, or do they Is it too traumatic and he goes on to his magic career in Las Vegas?
Well,
Oh, I hope not.
doesn't it seem like movies kind of play it one way or the other? One is we went through this traumatic bonding experience, but now we don't have anything in common and we float apart. Or we went through this traumatic bonding experience and we stay together, you know. So I don't know. I didn't have any feeling about it whatsoever.
Yeah,
it seemed like it would be hard for her to keep doing that, but.
Oh yeah, well, I mean, she has no reason, but I just feel like if I had helped a girl in high school bury 2 or 3 bodies, that we'd probably still be married. You know? I mean, whatever else
Absolutely.
It's a trust
Absolutely.
thing.
Yeah.
And I also, since she's the one responsible for the majority of these bodies, I would also treat her like a princess and make my own tea.
I was gonna say,
Always.
I loved it when he thought the tea was poisoned.
Yeah.
He was like, oh, I can't breathe. He was totally psychosomatic.
He was.
Oh my god, that was brilliant. All right, well, we've gone over for this one. This was a good movie. I think we all are going to highly recommend it. It is. Where's it playing? I saw it on Amazon.
I saw it on Shudder, I think.
Yeah.
Shudder and Prime.
Yeah.
Prime have it?
Yes.
Prime has it, yeah. So it's
they both had it, I think.
Definitely catch this one and let us know what you think down below. But beware. I mean, it is definitely in this day and age, you know, the Frank Hallett would be canceled quick. And that's a good thing. That is a good thing that he would.
Yeah.
But I don't know what would happen to Rynn Jacobs nowadays. I don't know.
Well, you know, homeschooling, dude, that's a thing.
It's a thing.
It's a pretty common thing.
It wouldn't be questioned as much, right? So,
yeah.
I noticed they never sent the truant officer off. Right? Wasn't that what they were called back in the day?
Oh yeah,
truant officer. Yeah.
All right.
Chad knows about that.
Yeah. Let's wrap this up. And
first name basis with all of them, all 25 of them.
All 25 of them. Holy cat's pajamas. All right. Let's wrap things up. Your final thoughts, and we're not going to do a score for everything. Just your final thoughts.
Really, a good movie, an intelligent movie. Really, really top-notch acting. Like I say, it's not filled with a lot of panache or style, but maybe that would kind of take away from it. So just enjoy the really good acting and disturbing without having to show you a lot of stuff to make you disturbed. All cigarette burn gerbils to the contrary.
Hamsters.
What if? Rodents, rats, whatever.
Hamsters.
But yeah, I recommend it, but definitely, there's some creepiness that wasn't as apparent at the time.
Yeah, I would say the reserved style actually works in its favor.
Oh, I think so too.
Yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah.
But
All right,
this could trigger some bad feelings.
Chad, final thoughts?
Yeah, this is a really, really good little thriller. I don't know, some folks might not call it horror, but there's some horrific things going on in it, and it's a pretty tight little hour and a half thriller. They try to do a mystery, but I think modern audiences that would see it today would kind of figure out what's going on right away, somehow or another. But still, the acting is superb. This was it, and that's what really stood out to me above everything else. Is she made that character feel so real and so believable of Rynn, Jodie Foster. That's what really stood out to me. And Martin Sheen, it was just had a great cast. And yeah, it seems like a TV movie in some parts, but still, if you're just looking for a little mystery thriller type that's really engaging, and there aren't too many parts that are boring and or anything like that. So yeah, I'd highly recommend it. And my favorite scene is God, I hate to say it. I kind of hate to say it, but it was more her expressions when she's sitting there with the tea tray, and he's sitting next to her. If you watch her face, her eyes, and very subtle facial expressions as he is looking at her and saying, "Yeah, you switch tea." He didn't say that, but that's what he was trying to do. and just her whole facial. She wasn't saying much, but her whole everything about her was just spot on, like
Should
perfect.
be a hell of a poker player.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it was great stuff.
Bill, do you want to do a favorite scene?
Oh, killing the guinea pig, I guess. No,
Oh my, the answer.
chinchilla, whatever. No, the ending scene. You're right. It's super top notch. And Chad, you bring up something I meant to say. Yeah, I think they wanted us to believe this was a mystery, and the posters and everything led you to believe that we were supposed to think that she was an evil kid killing, murdering. I never felt that for a moment, and they introduced the real evil so early on that
never did the posters.
Oh, there you go. Look at her.
Or the
I mean,
actors.
that looks like Wednesday Addams has gone horribly wrong, and this is that bottom one. What movie is that from?
She was never in a graveyard. They kind of. They dug a grave.
She doesn't have a teddy bear. She doesn't wear a creepy dress. That looks like the little vampire girl who lives down the lane. And I would like to see that movie, actually. But that's not
somewhere. I read that.
Oh, Lorelei, wasn't it?
Somewhere I read that they were trying to play. They were trying to give kind of a psycho vibe there. And then there's a line in there about without a mother,
right.
dot.
Without a mother. Now that's all well and good. Yeah.
There, she
looks glamorous even when she's dead.
Yeah.
My God, they made movie stars better back then.
Even the haircut, Martin Sheen's haircut is even.
That is the creepy. Yeah. He's like one of the little Hitler kids from Boys from Brazil growing
up. Oh my God, you're absolutely right. But he's looking through the part of his hair. Oh my gosh, totally forgot all the art. Sorry about that, there, Bill. All right, Jeff, go ahead and give us the spiel, sir.
This is an excellent movie, and I think kind of what maybe I don't remember which one of you guys were talking about it, but I think the people involved in the movie, even I saw some discussions going back and forth. Is it horror? Well, there's got horror aspects. It's a thriller. It's a this, and it's it's definitely is one of those ones that has horrific things that are done. That picture we just saw of Alexis Smith, that's all the blood you get, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's
if I remember correctly. So it's not that. It's the psychological study and the tension that's built up. And you don't know everything about this situation. You're at first you're trying to figure out, is her dad there? Or is there, my dad's in New York. Well, I don't know. She's 13, maybe. So it takes a while to figure out what's going on. And I like the way that they kind of release that information. Great acting, as everyone else has said. I'd take the end scene too, but I think I did a fist pump when the door banged shut on Mrs. Hallett.
Nice.
She had it coming.
Thank you, Gravity.
Yes.
All right. So like I said, I loved this movie back in the late 70s when I saw it on the Movie of the Week. And it literally made a huge impression on me back in the day, even though I never saw it again. But the whole almond thing has stuck with me, and it plays out so wonderfully well.
I'm glad I'm not the only person who thinks that when I'm serving tea to people, to give them some almond cookies and see if they get the reference.
Yeah, it tastes like almonds. It's just it really is such a well-crafted film, and it's as much as a horror film as some of the other things that we've covered.
Sure.
It's we did Don't Answer the Phone, was it?
When the Stranger Calls.
When a Stranger Calls, it's as much as a horror film as that is. It's just, like you said, the more psychological version of it. And, we are talking about, she's effectively a serial killer in this movie. But one thing is that I think the thing that impressed me then, and I think we said this earlier, and impressed me now, is that they treat these two kids seriously.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And they don't make stupid kid, things that you see in every other movie. I mean, there is a difference between these two. Now, granted, the Jodie Foster character, Rynn, there's a reason why, but Scott Jacoby's character, Mario, is equally the same way. I would say
he's resourceful.
Yeah, I would say Frank is more immature than both of them.
Yeah.
And maybe even his mother is more immature than both of them. It's really, really interesting, and I think that aspect of it is you don't get that. You really don't get that a lot. And this movie really holds up. It is dialogue based, and it will catch your attention. You will be riveted into it. Like I said, it's not a lot of action. There's not a lot of gore, but the characters will keep you involved, and the acting alone, and seeing just recognizing the pure talent in Jodie Foster, because it is.
Yeah,
this is a terrific performance. It's just not. I think this is even as. I think it's every bit as good as what she did in Taxi Driver. Just Taxi Driver just happens to be a little bit more impactful, right? It has a little bit more oomph to it.
A lot more.
Yeah. So, but yeah, really marvelous. And I would say my favorite scene is going to be when Mario pretends to be the dad, because that was absolutely ridiculous. Nobody would believe that, but
Yeah.
good for him.
Hey, he just happened to have a perfect latex mask hanging around, like as we do.
And I totally bought it. No, but it's great.
It's amazing when you think this is his uncle who sees him like every day and doesn't pick up on the fact that
But
doing my old man with a pipe kind of thing. Yeah, okay.
But his uncle wasn't the sharpest tack in those.
Yeah.
But he was a good man.
He was a good man.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. And he even signs the book for him. Oh my God, that was so great. All right, well, there you go. That's our review of The Little Girl Who Lives Down the Lane. One you probably thought we would never cover, I would imagine, but I'm so glad we did. Thank you for choosing this, there, Bill Mulligan.
Nice job, Bill.
Yeah. Do we know what's next, Jeff?
We do.
Ah.
Does Chad remember what's next?
Drum roll.
Oh no, Chad picked it.
I can't remember.
Messiah of Evil.
Oh.
You
Okay.
literally you can't remember that, really?
Well, I had a bunch of different.
I got
names.
3 other podcasts I got to go in and plug stuff in.
He slots them in about 2 months ahead of time. Whenever he
does.
I'm gonna change it on you one of these days. And go,
Oh,
Chad,
no.
I'm really glad you picked that, because I don't think I've seen it all the way through. So this is.
It looked good. I watched the trailer and it looks really, really good.
Okay.
So,
All right.
It's well regarded.
1972.
We'll find out. We'll find out in a couple weeks. Do we have any feedback, Jeff?
We do not. We do
Because
not.
we read it earlier. didn't
We need feedback.
Give us
Yeah.
feedback.
Do we need to be more controversial to get more feedback or comments? Is that the deal? Or
So do we have to stoop that low?
Bill,
We can do that.
put the hamster down.
Oh God, yeah. The hamster had it coming. There we go. Send those letters in.
The hamster had it
Had
coming.
it coming.
That's a shirt you will never wear.
Yeah.
I always wondered what you fed your cats, but
Yeah. Yeah, not hamsters. God,
We'll
that
get
would
some
be
feedback now.
more expensive than the food we do give them. But you know what? I've always and I've said this many times. I don't understand why we don't have mouse flavored cat food, because that is the one thing that cats actually like. And look, and that's exactly the expression, Doc, that I get when I make this suggestion. People are like, "Oh, that's awful." It's like, what?
Mouse flavored
Cat food. That's their purpose. That's why we domesticated them in the first place.
Yeah.
And that's what they like. They don't have tuna, the thing that cats love. No cat ever ate a tuna. Tuna are like 500 pounds. They live in the middle of the ocean. In the history of the universe, no cat has ever taken down a tuna. You know what
This
they were
rant
doing?
is
They were
brought to
eating
you by
mice.
Chicken of the Sea Tuna.
Thank you. They're easy to grow. You can't get rid of the damn things. Mice.
Yeah.
So,
You're
mouse
absolutely
flavored
right.
cat
My wife
Thank
is
you.
my wife is definitely allergic to cats. We can't have a cat in the house. We can't go visit people who have cats in the house. But living in the country, we do have like a feral or outdoor cat, and my wife will feed it periodically. But since that cat has showed
supplement
up,
its mouse
we don't
eating
get any
stuff.
mice. We don't get any
That's
mice.
right. Oh,
How are they gonna make a mouse flavored cat food if most humans don't know what a mouse tastes like? To make the cat mouse flavored cat food.
You know those
Well, wait a minute,
university
wait.
tasting experiments? They're always asking.
Yeah, what are they
for
going to do? Give a cat like a
What is going on?
What are
I
you
don't
talking
know.
about?
How did
Wait,
this?
I don't have to taste my cat. Good God, don't ever eat.
I mean, you could make
Captain's Choice.
You could
Captain's Choice cat food. Like, only the finest fish go into Captain's
We're
Choice.
forgetting.
No,
You could
We
flavor
are-
it. You could flavor it like Cocoa Puffs. And
Just
the-
like, well,
cat
it'd be
would-
like a version of corpse.
we
grinders.
wouldn't know. We wouldn't know.
yeah,
They
it'd be
could
like
mix it
corpse
anything.
grinders with mice.
Send
And
a
the-
little
you wouldn't
email to Bill Mulligan at
you don't even have to go
gruesomemagazine.com.
You know how you go through the trouble of like cleaning or gutting or skinning most food? And
Yeah.
no, not for this. They eat the whole mouse. They eat
No,
the
they- no.
whole mouse, and that's what
They
goes into the
Fur,
grinding
the
machine.
bones.
They
yeah.
spit
I know,
out
but
mouse.
they
my
spit out the
point
hard
is, my point is, they could flavor it like anything, and we would never know it was not.
Okay.
Well, that's the kind of dishonest businessman that I most certainly am not. If I'm going to make mouse flavored cat
Because-
food, I mean, I'll put it so that there's a tail at the top of the can. When you open up, there is a tail, and you know that you've got genuine Bill Mulligan mouse flavored cat food there. This is $1 million idea, and if there's any savvy investors
With-
out there who want to like make some serious coin here,
Mulligan's cat food with visible mouse parts.
that's right. A tail in every can. That I would put that on the front. A tail in every can. I would see if we could like get Tom and Jerry. If we could have Jerry be the mascot, just looking terrified on the can, like the last thing he saw was the grinder coming for him.
A tail. Okay, guys,
tail
we gotta
and
go.
everything.
We gotta go. Jeff,
Yeah,
Bill, Chad,
That
thank
should
you
Thanks
for
a
get
lot.
those
joining
letters.
me. Will you please? We gotta get out of here. Let's say goodnight.
Good night,
Good
everybody.
night, everybody.
Good night.
Gruesome Magazine.